Okay, the meditation that I'm about to read was written about an experience I had in Mallory Square in Key West, Florida. It is the southernmost point of the United States, and it is known for its gorgeous sunsets across the Gulf of Mexico. We who are gathered here in Mallory Square in Key West tonight are tourists from Spain and Great Britain and Texas and up north with our cameras, maps, tour guides, and souvenirs. We are with friends, colleagues, family, or only ourselves perhaps. We are maybe frazzled, sunburned, and tired, and our feet ache. Perhaps we have rushed to cram 3 attractions into just one afternoon, and we have now arrived, harried and impatient for the grand finale. Well, before partying and music and performances by locals in the square. We who stand in the square have collectively had all kinds of moments today, angry moments, scary moments, tearful moments, composed moments, joy-filled moments, disinterested moments, frustration with whiny children moments, moments where we may have even thrown litter on the beach, moments where we have skimped on a waiter's tip because he forgot to refill a beverage, or moments where we demanded our money back from the museum, that was me, and moments where we cooed at somebody's baby, or we thoughtfully thanked the tour guide, or put our change in a charity collection box, or offered sunscreen or clean napkins to an overwhelmed single mother. I am disappointed that my obsessive itinerary planning did not seem to ensure an optimal or even particularly pleasant experience for any of my group today, and that I, therefore, had personally failed to live up to expectations on some imaginary scale that I measure myself against. Nobody else takes any notice of this grand scale, it seems, but I am nearly invisible to myself as I stand before it, that old broken thing that towers above me. It measures me so unkindly that I fear for my sanity. My day has been so crazy-making, I fear I am losing my grip, and I have certainly lost all hope of finding peace in this day. And so I come to Mallory Square, embittered, a pained soul among the masses. The teal water is clear, still, and patient. It has been warmed all day by the living being that it chooses to now invite and welcome, absorb, and hold as would a lover to enable the emergence of our moon. Its surface shimmers with a silvery glitter. The gentle ebb and flow of the waters worries the sun little as it begins to descend into consumption by a sea of complete groundlessness. And me, well, I'm just holding on to my fear for dear life, as if my rigidity, tight muscles, a frozen scowl, and negative thoughts that repeat like worn-down grooves on a broken record will keep me from meeting the same threatening abyss, same threatening fate as the sun, and save me from falling into the abyss. And as with everything else today, I find disappointment with the sunset. It is all yellow, not enough orange, no red. It is too confined, and I would prefer a widespread painting. The sun is about to disappear behind a huge cloud, and then we'll see nothing at all. It's not really that way at all, though. But that is what I perceive in my current emotional state. But I have my eyes open still, and I am teachable, and I begin to wonder how I can have so little gratitude as I stand breathing fresh air on vacation with family and friends, where a brilliant, illumined sky meets the magnificent sea. I breathe that fresh air in a little deeper, a little more consciously, as I notice the tightness in my muscles, allowing for the dissolution of maybe a smidgen of anger. And so the cloud veils the sun completely, but shows us new light in its outline. It is highlighted in brilliant gold and is a marvelous spectacle for everyone who needs a cloud with a bright lining. A sailboat comes into view as if from nowhere and is silhouetted by the setting sun. The scene is captivating. Then what the cloud finally unveils is a beautifully contained golden orb that drifts dreamily toward its destination, dropping, 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 so steadily and seamlessly. And I am beginning to see this sunset for what it truly is, an irreplaceable, non-duplicatable display during one moment in time that elicits awe and gratitude. And because I can bear witness to the sun's because I can bear witness to the sun's fulfillment of its sacred destiny, I know myself fully in that moment as the most blessed and the richest woman in the whole world. My scale is gone, and in its place, I've been given an immeasurable and priceless gift. The sun will soon fill the ocean's depths. The giant orb revels in the ocean's warmth now and dances on its waves. The sun and the water are communing together and engaging one another, and together they bring on the nightfall. Soon they will do this dance again to welcome the day, knowing that day and night are both as sacred as one another, and that one could not exist if not for its partner. We who are gathered in Mallory Square tonight stand as one being with collective anticipation. We are no longer our frazzled and harried tourist selves. We are more calm. Some of us may be struggling in this moment, but others of us are wondering or interpreting what nature reveals to us in mirroring and echoing our consciousness, inviting humility and prostration before our own reflective selves in all our glory and greatness. Some of us remain still as we watch from afar, believing the movement of the sun, the ocean, the cloud to be external, not even realizing that we too are being altered and changed continually. Personally, I am having a recognizably profound spiritual moment. Then the sun yields finally, completely to the night, and we cheer. I cheer, actively celebrating its disappearance, because I now know that not everything that looks scary is, because I now know that sinking doesn't have to feel like sinking, but instead, it can feel like rising. Because I now completely see how my external reality is a mirror of my perspective. And because we, every single one of us standing in Mallory Square, whether we realize it or not, have just had a tiny glimpse of our own wholeness, and perhaps we have recognized it, even in the face of groundlessness and ensuing darkness. Do a meditation in song for you. Even as night darkens the earth, the wheel turns and turns. Death follows birth. Strive as you sleep with every breath. May you awake past day, past death. Even as night darkens the earth, the wheel turns and turns. Death follows birth. Strive as you sleep with every breath. May you awake past day, past death. enters, death follows birth. Strive as you sleep with every breath. May you awake past day, past death. Surrender is an important process to examine. Why is surrender important to me or to you? Surrender is a concept that draws me like a moth to a flame, with a fascination and burning desire to understand what seems far beyond my reach. I have a hunch that surrender is important because each time I experience the word surrender, I instantly take a deep breath. I'd say it's pretty profound when a word has that much power. Surrender is our birthright. We surrender as we're being born, at least until the moment we leave the birth canal. Most people surrender when they're dying, or else they die in anguish. But what we do between birth and death is ultimately most important. When we learn about and practice the art of surrender, each time is like a little homecoming. One of the questions I asked myself while preparing to speak is what the word surrender means to me. To me, surrender is not throwing my hands up in the air, giving up, or conceding to a stronger opponent. For me, surrender is a choice to stop struggling against what disempowers me. And what disempowers me? My disempowerment always, always, always comes from my dislike of the way things are in the present moment. What I struggle against disempowers me. I've had moments in my life where I've glimpsed great empowerment simply by surrendering. Now, not every act of surrender becomes a peak experience like my Mallory Square one, and we are certainly not looking here for what has been termed spiritual bypass, but often, by the simple process of surrendering, we make room to invite in positive emotions, with peace probably being the first. I've shared the Mallory Square meditation with you today, and I'd like to circle back to it. After a day filled with my need to control everything, I had a powerful shift. Here it is. But I have my eyes open still, and I am teachable, and I begin to wonder how I can have so little gratitude as I stand breathing fresh air on vacation with family and friends, where a brilliant illumined sky meets the magnificent sea. I breathe that fresh air a little deeper, a little more consciously, as I notice the tightness in my muscles, allowing for the dissolution of maybe a smidgen of anger. And this is what happened next. I am beginning to see this sunset for what it truly is, an irreplaceable, non-duplicatable display during one moment in time that elicits awe and gratitude. And because I can bear witness to the sun's fulfillment of its sacred destiny, I know myself fully in that moment as the most blessed and the richest woman in the world. My scale is gone, and in its place, I've been given an immeasurable and priceless gift. The adjectives I used to describe the sunset at the beginning of my viewing experience were disappointing and confined. Later, the adjectives I used were inviting, sacred, reflective, spiritual. This is a shift of great, great magnitude that happened within a 5-minute span. If I was listening to this speech right now, I worry that I were about to hear some far out, half-cocked interpretation of what this miracle means. If I hadn't lived it, I might not even believe that shift in consciousness truly happened. So, how on earth did it happen? Well, it's all really quite simple. Let me explain. When I was at General Assembly in Providence in 2014, I attended a fantastic workshop by the Reverend Dr. Thandeka about the interplay between liberal theology and how we think and feel. She did an exercise with us where we tuned into the combined elements of our experience, which are 1, sensations, what we experience through our 5 senses, 2, emotions, 3, levels of intensity, and 4, ideas. All these elements of experience are available to us at all times, and our ego, or sense of who we are, is always combining these elements into a story. Between every thought we attach ourselves to, there is a still point or pause. It is a tiny window that we often miss, where we have the option of anchoring ourselves into a different experience. Sensations, emotions, and intensity are experienced in the still point, but ideas and thoughts are not. Emotion creates movement, so if we can ground ourselves in a lengthened still point, we can be moved. Also in the still point, we are very open to the interdependent web of life. If I'm complaining that I want my money back because the museum was terrible, am I connected to that interdependent web? No. But when I watch a glorious sunset over the ocean and hold on in a still point where I smell the salty air, feel less muscle tension, notice that the sky is a vivid red, and let go of thoughts about how terrible the museum was, I can then see my place within the web far more clearly. Thandeka poses that the still point where we can both be moved and connect to the interdependent web of life is the foundation of religious, and I would say also spiritual experience. Then, when we move out of that still point where we have been moved, and we describe our experience in words, we create a new story. This process begins with surrender. I marvel at the speed in which this shift can take place. It seems too simple to really make sense to me. My experience at Mallory Square and other similar experiences confound me, and I don't feel I've ever had much conscious control over them. I feel as if they happened to me. Although I understand the science as Thandeka explained it, there is still so much I don't know, and there are intricacies of the experiences that I can't grasp. This is very humbling, to not understand something with my intellect. There are forces at play here that are powerful, mysterious, mystical. How can a deep breath bring someone from point A to point Z in 1.25 seconds? I want to know how to control the surrender. I want to know how I can force it to happen when I need it most. And isn't that a crazy oxymoron, that I want to control surrender? But I bet I'm not alone. I learned in the workshop that the fastest means to spiritual experience through the still point is to activate the nervous system. Often people have profound spiritual experiences near the ocean, in the mountains, through music, when viewing the earth from space, while running a race, while near death, etc., because those are events that allow our thoughts to drop away. I have learned through writing this sermon that perhaps if the external environment is rich enough, one can invite oneself to be open to the still point and easily get there. Hopefully the invitation is kind. My invitation to myself at Mallory Square came from judgment as I began to wonder how I could have so little gratitude for the glorious sunset. Nevertheless, although my thoughts were unkind, they opened me to the still point. Since then, more kindness has come with a lot of practice. I'd say that 90% of my surrender experiences have involved water. I have a theory that this is because elementally, my predominant nature is fire. Fire that gets wild and untamed. Fire that overexcites my nervous system. Fire that rages. Fire that needs to be tempered and balanced. So maybe water, as fire's natural antidote, is the quickest means to surrender for me, my shortcut, so to speak. If, like me, you're not a long-term practicing Buddhist who can mindfully breathe into a still point, perhaps alternate shortcuts can be helpful. In all my searching over the years, I haven't come up with a whole lot that is prescriptive about surrender to share with you. As in much of life, I have found more questions than answers as I have pondered this topic. Standing before you and telling you I don't have answers is an invitation for growth for me. My challenge is to sit with the anxiety I feel as I surrender to not having all the loose ends tied up and not being able to impress anybody with my great command of this subject. But I see how anchoring in a still point could help me with that. I don't have all the control here and do not see and do you see how if I could step out of my thoughts about not liking that, I will have become empowered by surrendering, by letting go of my need to control everything? Perhaps you have questions of your own to consider. The biggest one I want to leave you with is where do you think you could find shortcuts to surrender? In music, in movement, in breath, in laughter, in nature, in a baby's smile, in prophetic words, or in sensory experiences? When you are most at peace, when are you most at peace? Can you incorporate more of what brings you peace into your life to help you surrender? It often seems like a tall order to find a still point in which we can surrender, to let go of what we want to control and drop away from the storyline. And yet it can often happen with just an invitation or a deep breath. May we learn to practice finding still points to be returned to the universe in many serene moments with the profound understanding that groundlessness is our sacred destiny.